A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to tonight's edition of Primetime News, coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudannayaka. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
Prime Minister cites organic farming as a timely need. Lanka Phosphate Limited vested with Mahindananda's ministry. Carcasses of 11 turtles and 3 dolphins wash ashore. Are COVID-19 figures embroiled in a conspiracy?
Now the stories in detail. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has cited the transformation to organic fertilizer as a timely need for a healthy generation. The Prime Minister made these remarks during a meeting at Temple Trees.
During the meeting, officials said that there is sufficient fertilizer for paddy and tea cultivations. They claimed that traders and importers are concealing fertilizer stocks and portraying a fake shortage in the market. The officials also outlined success achieved through the use of organic fertilizer. Some politicians had said that this will result in a famine. We are already facing a problem over food security. Leaving food imports worth 550 million aside, we are consuming chemicals. We cannot accept that food grown with chemicals will resolve food security problems. We haven't been able to create a country that is free of food without chemicals. Therefore, we are facing a problem of food security at present. We are facing two challenges. They are the distribution of fertilizer for the Maha and Yala seasons. All our ministry secretaries are taking steps to ensure that a crisis doesn't occur during the current Yala season. We wish to tell the Prime Minister that our ministry has undertaken the responsibility of ensuring that there is organic fertilizer required for the upcoming Maha season. We can provide organic fertilizer without any problem. We will provide 4 types of fertilizer. All arrangements have been made to distribute them.
The
farmers must be given organic fertilizer to implement this program. They must be willing to be a part of it. Therefore, we must implement a proper plan and take this forward. Experts and professionals have not been a part of this process. Since you are filling this void now, I believe we can proceed with this. The President has a clear stance at present.
1,420 COVID-19 patients have been reported so far today, the 19th of June, raising the COVID-19 caseload in Sri Lanka to 236,833. 2,134 COVID patients recovered today. Total recoveries in the island stands at 199,393. Meanwhile, 2,480 COVID-19 fatalities have been confirmed thus far.
Chairman of the Government Medical Officers Association, Dr. Anuruddha Padenia, expressed the following views yesterday on COVID-19 statistics.
This is what we have been saying all along. The Minister appointed a Director for Information as well. That person updates the website of the Ministry of Health saying there is no data. Even the Director of Information is not provided the details. The Epidemiology Unit has 6 responsibilities. The first is surveillance. Second is outdate control. Third is vaccination. Fourth is clinical coordination. Fifth is operational research. And finally is monitoring and evaluation. However, no such thing is done. Consultants there complain to us that they are not allowed to access files and that only 3 people are controlling it. I will responsibly state this is a conspiracy. They are not releasing data.
Director General of Health Services expressed his opinion on the matter today.
We cannot conclude it's a conspiracy, but there was a lacuna in issuing data. Even regarding the deaths which occur, we release those statistics within 24 hours. The restructuring is done to correct the shortcomings of the past.
Were travel restrictions extended due to inaccurate statistics?
These decisions cannot be attributed to one factor. That clarification must be sought from the authorities which made those decisions. As the Ministry of Health, it is difficult to answer that question.
Meanwhile, the director of the epidemiology unit of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Sudat Samaravira, has been transferred as the director of the dengue eradication unit of the Ministry of Health. Dr. Samitha Ginige has been appointed the acting director of the epidemiology unit.
None of these reports depict the deaths which have been reported over 24 hours. This was a mistake, but it was known by everyone. We have a question as to whether only the heads of the government were unaware of it. The report clearly states a window of time where the deaths have occurred. The report does not highlight the deaths which occurred the previous day. Dr. Sudat Samaravira has been made the scapegoat and has been removed from his position. Is this fair? Would the statistics be accurate pursuant to this transfer?
පාදිනියයි කියන්නේ ජනාධිපති රාජපක්ෂගේ නාට්ටාමියෙක්. මේ මිනිස්සයා දන්නේ මේ එකක් නැහැ.
Padini is an aide of President Rajapaksa. He does not know a thing about the epidemiology unit. No death can immediately be included in the statistics. Once a patient dies, a PCR is conducted. It takes 2 to 4 days for the results of that PCR to be published. So a COVID-19 death is only confirmed after a certain number of days. The figure 101 is the number of deaths have increased by 101 today from the number which existed the day before. In whatever way, the number of deaths increase. If the report is wrong, the number of deaths are also wrong. This is the sort of confusion we can expect if the authorities try to work with these people. If the health sector was given total control to curtail the pandemic, they would have controlled it already. Why wasn't it done? Because a presidential task force was appointed with people who do not have an iota of knowledge on this. This is a case of too many cooks spoiling the soup. The task of the dog cannot be carried out by the donkey. Give it to the dog instead. That is when we can expect it to function smoothly.
ආණ්ඩි 7 දෙනාගේ කැඳහැලිය වගේ දැන්. බල්ලගේ වැඩේ බූරුවෝ කරන්නේ නැතුව ඒක බල්ලට බාර දෙන්න. හරි? එතකොට ඒක හරියට කෙල්ලයි.
Dr. Nalin Kitulvela of the Lade Ridgeway Hospital said that another disease linked to COVID-19 is spreading amongst children. He noted that 6 children are currently receiving treatment at the intensive care unit of the hospital. Dr. Kitulvela stressed that medical advice should be sought if children have fever, body aches, vomiting, abdominal pain, diarrhea, sore eyes, red spots or skin rashes.
The danger is that these may affect the heart and result in death. This is a new disease. It has been first detected in the United Kingdom in April. We have now identified this disease in Sri Lanka. There is a possibility that it might spread across the country. The message that we have is that medical advice must be sought immediately if someone develops such symptoms. Delaying it would place the life of their child at risk. We have identified this disease as multi-system inflammatory syndrome. So far, this has only affected children. This is how children have been affected by COVID-19. The infection is severe and it requires intensive care treatment. This is an infection that is linked to immunity.
කොරෝනා රෝගයට විරුද්ධව අපේ ඇඟෙන් හැදෙන ප්‍රතිශක්තිය නිසා අපටම රෝගයක් බවට පත් වෙලා තියෙන කතියක් තමයි පේන්නේ.
එතන ඉඳගෙන හැමදාම ජනාධිපති කාර්ය people who represented the presidential task force on COVID-19 are now speaking of a conspiracy. I believe the conspiracy was to destroy the unity in the health sector. Trade unions were told not to communicate with other trade unions. They were made to feel as if they were the only ones supposed to fight for their rights. We would like to thank the current Director General of Health for laying down the foundation stone to correct a flawed system. There are few officials in the middle who are not the Director General of Health and who believe that only the demands of their trade unions are important. They only care about the benefits that they get. If we are to correct this flawed system, the President must pay special attention to these kinds of officials. Indian media reports that Sri Lanka has sought the assistance of the Central Zoo Authority to treat a lion at the Dehiwala Zoo that has been infected with COVID-19. These reports indicate that steps would be taken to provide oxygen treatment to the infected animal. Meanwhile, the Department of Animal Production and Health has said that an investigation has been carried out to determine how the lion had contracted COVID-19.
These lions had been placed in close proximity as a family. The Department of Zoological Gardens has taken steps to obtain samples from these lions and to examine the condition of the other animals. We assume that the virus may have been transmitted from an employee at the zoo. That is the assumption that we can make at present.
Three changes have been made to the Industries Ministry of Vimal Weerawansa in the last 24 hours. The latest change is a decision to vest Lanka Phosphate Limited to the Agriculture Ministry.
Lanka Phosphate Limited had been operating under Vimal Weerawansa's Ministry of Industries. However, the entirety had been transferred through a gazette by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa yesterday. Yesterday, it was reported that Industries Ministry Secretary Anusha Palpita had sought premature retirement from the President. On the same day, details came to light that Sri Lanka Ports Authority Chairman retired General Daya Ratnayaka had been appointed as the Secretary to the Ministry of Industries. Lanka Phosphate Limited, that was under the purview of Vimal Weerawansa's ministry, has now been transferred to the Agriculture Ministry.
Meanwhile, Minister of Industries Vimal Weerawansa responded to this incident on his Facebook page today. His response states, quote,
Lanka Phosphate Limited, that had been sustaining losses between 2015 and 2020, was transformed to earn profits due to the commitment of me as an Industries Minister, along with the chairman and the employees of the Lanka Phosphate Limited. We made plans to carry out several projects under the Lanka Phosphate Limited in the coming years. Regardless of the ministry to which it belongs to, I hope that the Eppavela Phosphate Deposit and Lanka Phosphate Limited, that are investments for the future, will turn out to be successful ventures. We hope that Lanka Phosphate Limited, that was generating profits in 2020 and 2021, will continue to remain as a profit-generating entity in the future as well.
End quote.
I think that the main reason for this is that earlier the phosphate entity was under the Ministry of Agriculture. At a time where the government is trying to implement a massive program under the Ministry of Agriculture, phosphate production will be valuable for this program. Minister Vimal Weerawansa has played a significant role in developing this entity. Together with those initiatives, we expect to implement phosphate production in the country under the Ministry of Agriculture.
The maximum retail price on coconut has been lifted yesterday. Now, this was through a gazette published by Major General Shant Disanayake, who serves as the chairman of the Consumer Affairs Authority.
A maximum retail price was imposed on coconut on the 25th of September last year. Meanwhile, the order issued on controlling the felling of coconut trees has been amended. The gazette has been issued by Agriculture Minister Mahindananda Alutgamage.
Now, farmers in several parts of Sri Lanka continue to be affected by the fertilizer crisis. Today, several farmers have lost all hopes of a good harvest due to the lack of fertilizer.
Farmers of Athuparayaya in Dambulla had been informed that they would be able to collect fertilizer today.
They have brought 150 bags of fertilizer. This can't be distributed among 1,500 farmers. They must know to bring the required amount of fertilizer. What can we do about this? We earn a living through farming.
It seems that it would be better off without fertilizer. What are we to do with little amounts of fertilizer? We won't be able to reap a good harvest. The farmers are being inconvenienced at this location.
Although a few farmers received fertilizer, most of them had to return home empty-handed. Farmers of Kuliapitia are also facing similar problems. They staged a protest this afternoon demanding authorities for fertilizer. Farmers are urging authorities to provide them sufficient fertilizer to cultivate their fields. They point out that the absence of fertilizer would affect their fields running up to 150 kilometers.
They are not engaging in farming to earn a living. They want to fulfill their hunger. We haven't received a single grain of fertilizer yet. Therefore, the people don't have rice to eat. These people don't intend to conceal stocks of paddy or engage in a large-scale business. They're cultivating crops for their need. We have never seen a government that deprives the people of food. This government came to power pledging to provide fertilizer free of charge. But today, farmers are not receiving fertilizer free of charge. They are unable to purchase it as well. There are no stocks to be purchased. The stocks on sale are priced at exorbitant rates. The government owes these farmers. They have purchased fertilizer on credit.
Protests were staged in several areas to reduce the prices of fuel.
Protests were staged by fishermen in Negombo today. The protests revolved around the fuel price hike and the problems faced by the fishing industry due to the Express Pearl disaster.
We are unable to catch fish as the vessel has sunk. Can we earn a living when fuel prices have been increased?
They didn't provide fuel at a concessionary rate. When prices dipped in the world market, the government said that they will not increase prices as long as they are in power. What is the government doing now? They must issue a straightforward statement on this. Bandula Guruvardhana, Udaya Gammanpila and the president are making contrasting remarks. What is happening?
Galle District Working Committee member of the Samaki Janabalawege, Kanishkadi Lanarol, travelled in a bullock cart from Markuluwa towards Galle as a mark of protest against the fuel price hike. 4 people, including Kanishkadi Lanarol, were arrested along the Samudra lane in Galle. When inquired on the matter, Kanishkadi Lanarol said that he and the other suspects were released on bail and were informed to appear before the Galle Magistrates Court next Monday.
Views were expressed in the political arena regarding the increase in fuel prices and the allegations levelled against Minister Udaya Gammanpila. Despite who was here, we will have to face this situation. The issue here is that those who speak about the matter are not aware of that. Although this motion of no confidence is being brought against Minister Gammanpila, he was not the person who made this decision. This motion of no confidence must be brought against the Finance Minister of the country because the fuel price was increased by the Minister of Finance. Also, this is a decision that was reached by the Cabinet of Ministers. They should have brought a motion of no confidence against the entire government instead of targeting just one person. Someone would have instructed him to write this letter, but all of us must be aware that there is a conspiracy ongoing to remove the parties affiliated with the SLPP from the government. All of us must be aware of how this will affect the government and the country as a whole. If this trend of removing the leaders of parties who supported the government from the cabinet and other positions continue, this could happen to the Sri Lanka Freedom Party as well. We must be mindful of how the Sri Lanka Freedom Party would respond to such a situation in the future.
Basil Rajapaksa has not yet made known a clear stance on this matter, but we have a stance as the SLPP. All of us agreed that this should not have been done at this time. We have not taken a decision regarding that matter as a party. We will stand with the decision of the party.
There are talks that a new finance minister might be appointed to solve these economic issues. We have also received information that plans are afoot to bring down Basil Rajapaksa from his motherland to his second motherland, take him into parliament and make him the Minister of Finance. There is a famous saying for this.
Some
people are saying that the President and the Prime Minister cannot understand this, and the countless other Rajapaksa ministers in the government cannot understand this as well.
Only Basil Rajapaksa can understand this. They say that things will be done right after Basil Rajapaksa comes back. So is Basil Rajapaksa the person running the government? Please do not joke with the people. If you cannot trust your officials, your Prime Minister and your cabinet, don't joke with the people. Go out to the people in disguise like the kings of the past and ask them about the government. They will tell you everything you need to know.
විශේෂයෙන්ම දැන් මේ ආණ්ඩුව හරියට අපට පේන්නේ අන්තෝ ජටා බහි ජටා වගේ ඇතුළේ අවුල් පිටත් අවුල් අපි දිගින් දිගටම කියා සිටියා මේ
The government is in chaos on the outside and on the inside. We continue to demand for the dual citizenship clause in the 20th Amendment to be removed. But they brought in the clause allowing dual citizens to enter parliament and become the finance minister. There are talks of a possibility of this happening. Dual citizens are demanding Udaya Gammanpilla to resign from his position. No one can stop these people from coming into parliament in the future and destroying this country, our nationality, and then going back to their motherlands. Vimal Veeravansa first was against this but later supported it. It's a shame that they are being attacked using the same thing that they supported.
A meeting of the Samagi Jana Balawege was held this morning to discuss the motion of no confidence against Minister Udaya Gammanpilla. Following the meeting, leaders of the Samagi Jana Balawege expressed the following views.
The way members of the government are speaking shows that even government members are critical of his conduct. If that is the case, then these people too must support our motion of no confidence. If that happens, we can win. If the MPs and ministers who are speaking against are true to their conscience, and if they are not lying to the people, they must support our motion of no confidence. Then we can win. The members of the government themselves are saying that the prices of fuel will be reduced when Basil Rajapaksa comes back. What is their policy? Can't Gammanpilla do this? Are there two factions within the government? It is the government that is separated, but they are sticking mud at us. A part of the government is saying that the fuel price hike was fair. Another faction is saying that the government has enough money, while another group in the government is saying that the fuel prices will be reduced if Basil returns. Who are they attacking? Is it Gotabaya Rajapaksa or Mahinda Rajapaksa or Gammanpilla? The government is already split. The government's lifespan is short. The people are of the view that the fuel price hike is wrong. Many people have asked their leaders not to come back to their village after supporting this fuel price hike. They have asked them not to come back to their villages after defeating this motion of no confidence. The people of this country are under that much of pressure. We will hand over the motion of no confidence on Tuesday morning. There are only two ways that the government can evade this motion of no confidence. First, they could reduce the price of fuel that was increased for no justifiable reason. They cannot just reduce petrol prices by 10 rupees. They must reduce it by the full 20 rupees that they previously increased. You don't have to wait until Basil Rajapaksa comes back to the country to do that. By that time, you will realize that Sagaracharya Wasam was just acting out a script that was handed to him. Secondly, the subject minister could resign from his position. Some people are questioning us as to why we didn't bring a no-confidence motion against the government and just limited it to Udaya Gammanpilla. If we brought a no-confidence motion against the government, all government MPs, including backbench MPs, would unite to protect the government. We cannot defeat the government by numbers in parliament. We will defeat them at an election. We would like to challenge Basil Rajapaksa. On the 9th of February next year, the term of provincial councils will end. Hold an election if you can. Then you will be able to see what happened to your 6.9 million voters. This motion of no confidence is not brought against Udaya Gammanpilla personally. This is brought against him in his capacity as the minister in charge of fuel. Let's see how these people vote in favor of the fuel price hike and go back to their villages.
Do
your online shopping with Sambole.lk. Home delivery and pickup now available.
Sambole.lk.
Welcome back. Here with News First. A broad discourse has arisen over moves to sell valuable assets for investment projects through an entity named Selandiva Investments. The Sino restaurant located near the Lotus Tower is among the properties chosen for this project. A team had visited the area recently to inspect the property.
On the 17th, 10 people in 4 vehicles arrived at around 2 p.m. They captured photographs and videos of the premises. We refused to permit them to enter our premises, but they had arrived unannounced. One person said that he had been sent by senior officials at his foundation. 2 claimed that they were from the Fisheries Ministry. Another said he was from another company. They captured photographs and videos. They tried to enter our kitchen, but they went away when I refused to permit them. They captured photos of even our ACs. Another group arrived and recorded their observations as well. They said there is a court case on this. Based on the manner in which they spoke, I realized that they were having a plan. They asked for a map of our facility. We did not give it. They then surveyed the land. The property has been leased out to a private businessman by the Fisheries Ministry. A paper table before the cabinet recently proposed to vest these real estate properties through a special purpose vehicle under an entity named Selandiva Investments. The current owners of the property have filed a complaint with the police over the photographs and videos that were captured without permission. News First made inquiries on this matter from the Urban Development Authority. They said that several properties in Colombo are being surveyed at present. What will happen to the Sino restaurant? News First has already revealed that valuable properties in Colombo, including the Sino restaurant, are to be handed over for investment projects. Other properties include the Grand Oriental Hotel and York Building, Gafoor Building, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Postal Department Head Office, a mixed development project of the Water's Edge Hotel, the International Coordination Center in Kankasanthore in Jaffna, the Hilton Colombo and the Grand Hyatt Mix project.
We know that the people are not fully aware of this entity that is named Selandiva Investments. There is no opportunity to raise awareness on this as well. They are proceeding with this by taking the relevant legal measures. We know that valuable properties, including ancient buildings near Colombo Fort, are to be sold under this. The government is implementing all clauses in the MCC agreement that will deprive the farmers of their lands. They are taking steps to vest state-owned lands with archaeological value with private entities. We request residents of Colombo to be vigilant about this.
The carcasses of 11 turtles and 3 dolphins washed ashore today. Environment Minister Mahinda Amaravira said that an investigation must be carried out into the deaths of these animals.
Where were the carcasses of marine creatures located from today?
The carcasses of 3 turtles and 1 dolphin had washed up on the Kirankulam coast in Batiklo today. Wounds had been visible on the mouth of the deceased turtles. The carcasses of 3 turtles had washed up on the coast of Periyanilavane, while the carcass of another turtle had washed up on the Kalmune Pandiripu coast. A dolphin measuring 5.5 feet in height had washed up on the Talankuda coast in Batiklo. The carcass of 2 turtles had washed up on the Shillao coast this afternoon. The carcass of a turtle weighing 15 kilograms had washed up on the Chilao coast today. A dolphin had washed up on the Lansigama coast in Maravilla. The carcass of a turtle had washed up on the Paripadua coast in Mundalama as well. 7 turtles have washed ashore so far along the Mundalama coast.
Areas where carcasses of marine creatures have washed ashore.
A turtle had washed up on the coast of Panadura a week after the Express Pearl vessel caught fire in Sri Lankan waters near the Colombo port. The carcasses of turtles, dolphins and whales have washed ashore since then in Hikadua, Kosgoda, Ambalangoda, Indurua and Rakava since then. According to our correspondents, more than 70 marine creatures have washed ashore since the fire erupted on the vessel. Most of them are turtles. Olive Ridley turtles, which are the smallest of sea turtles, are among the creatures that have washed ashore.
Are marine creatures dying due to the Express Pearl disaster?
සාක්ෂි සාධක තියනවද මේ ගිනිපත්තු නැවින් පිටවෙච්ච රසායනික ද්‍රව්‍ය හේතුවෙන් මේ සතුන් මිය ගියා කියලා.
So far there is nothing, but these turtles have washed ashore after the fire erupted on the vessel. Turtles reach the shore to lay eggs under ordinary circumstances. They wash up in areas frequented by them. This is like elephants passing through a corridor. This incident is significant. Therefore, attention must be paid towards this. We will take the relevant action on this.
How will future investigations take place?
The Attiriya Wildlife Office is conducting autopsies on more than 35 turtles and dolphins that have washed up on the coast between Negombo to Ambalangoda. 15 carcasses have been sent to the government analyst for further tests.
Several creatures have been affected. This includes turtles, whales and dolphins. Environmentalists and those following the matter closely are opined that these deaths have been caused by the incident related to the vessel. But an investigation into this must be carried out. I don't feel that large number of creatures would die due to that. I once served as a Minister of Fisheries. A small number of creatures can be affected, but it is difficult to assume that large numbers would be affected.
We now direct your attention to an incident of large-scale environmental destruction taking place at Loggalla Reserve.
The Loggalla Reserve is situated centering Meegahakula, Kandekatiya, Riti Maliyadda and Mahiyangane Divisional Secretariats in the Badulla district. The reservoir, under the purview of the Sri Lanka Mahaweli Authority, provides water which is essential for cultivations located in a number of areas, including Badulla, Ampara, Batikalo and Polonnaruwa. These cultivations are the lifeblood of more than 100,000 families. The Loggalla nourishes the Sorabara Wever, Dambara Wever, Mapakada Wever and the Diabana Oya. Our cameras captured how certain areas belonging to the reservoir had been cleared. Locals of the area allege certain parties had purchased lands of farmers historically used for chena cultivation. Even when our correspondents toured the area, bulldozers were in action, felling trees. Residents also apprised us of the existence of a number of lands in the area with valid deeds. This is the manner in which buildings have already been constructed. A person with no influence cannot even use the branch of a tree, but when an entire area of a reserve is cleared and roads have been constructed, the law does not apply. Poles to demarcate cleared lands in Dikirigolla and Veeragolla have already been stocked up in the relevant areas. These areas fall under the purview of the Riti Maliyadda Divisional Secretariat. Locals lament constant pleas by them to authorities to probe this curious matter have fallen on deaf ears.
Even kumbuk trees in the area have been felled. The banks of the Vaver have been destroyed. If we experience heavy rain, all the earth that has been piled up will fall into the Vaver.
Roads which are the size of highways have been constructed. This is a zone with a sensitive ecosystem within the Loggalla Oya Reserve. We are currently on the edge of the Vaver. We urge the leaders to pay attention to this. 50 to 60 acres have been cleared. A massive blow has been dealt to the environment. They will construct hotels, then open bars and brothels as well as casinos. They are going to destroy the culture of these villages along with the rest of the country. They do not have answers for these. There is no law. We cannot allow the country to function this way. Where is the law? There is clearly political influence behind this.
Cinnamon Air has launched the construction of a new hangar at the Bandaranaike International Airport.
The new hangar at the Bandaranaike International Airport will allow Cinnamon Air to conduct aircraft maintenance at a location adjacent to its own terminal. This would also make it the only domestic airline to have its own terminal and hangar within the BIA. Cinnamon Air is a joint venture between John Keel's Holding plc, MMBL, Leisure Holdings and Phoenix Ventures.
The government has printed 39.6 billion rupees in the first 18 days of June.
Central bank data shows that the government had printed 21.9 billion rupees this week. 25.8 billion rupees had been printed since travel restrictions were imposed on the 10th of May. The government has printed 157.8 billion rupees so far this year. Meanwhile, the Census and Statistics Department has delayed releasing the economic growth rate for the first quarter. The department was due to release the growth rate on the 14th of June, 75 days since the end of the quarter in March. But its Additional Director General Shyamali Karunaratne said this is likely to be delayed until the 9th of July. She said that data collection from the agriculture, industry and service sectors have been affected due to COVID-19 restrictions.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. For the News First team, I'm Arundhati Mudanayaka, together with our interpreter this evening, Taraka Gabriel. Good night.